indictment of your predecessor politically divisive?
President Biden laughing off a question about one of the most historic indictments in U.S. history, prompting reporters to go head-to-head with White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on the administration's silence.
Is he concerned at all that a local DA indicting a former president could, down the line, open up the possibility, set the precedent, that local DAs that don't like former President Biden could indict him?
I'm not going to comment from here.
Does the lack of comment mean that you do not think anything happening in New York today is one of the top issues facing the country at the moment?
That's your assessment. That's not my assessment. We're just going to be very mindful. These are ongoing cases.
100 cases involving Americans whose freedom was at risk.
I hear you. But
right?
this is something that all of Americans watch in real time. In real time.
You called January 6th historic. It was absolutely historic, and none of us had ever seen that before. Nobody's seen this before either.
Fox News contributor Joe Concha joins us now. You know, they're both historic, but they'll only comment on one. So what do you make of all of this?
Karine Jean-Pierre went full Biden classified documents mode, right? Remember when she would just say, I'm not going to comment, I'm not going to comment. So I guess practice makes perfect, Ashley, in these situations. It's oddly inconsistent, right? When you can comment on one ongoing investigation, which has something like 500 cases going on, but then obviously with the indictment of a former president, which we've talked about, is historic, unprecedented, it's never happened before. They don't want to talk about it for some reason, because I think that they don't want to step on the story. They want Trump to be the focus. And the minute Biden says anything that's even seen remotely as political, it helps make Trump's argument that this is political. And there was a CNN poll out just yesterday, 76%, which is a very hard number to get to in this country. 76% of the American people believe that this is political.
Well, they didn't want to talk about it or celebrate it, but a number of other prominent liberals appearing to celebrate Trump's arrest, indictment, and arraignment. Watch.
It's all happening. The gang is all here with you on a history-making afternoon.
Donald J. Trump is under arrest.
Yes, he is.
I'm leaving these photos up for you as we begin our coverage tonight so you can take it in.
Are you guys sick of talking about this already? No. I mean, this is unprecedented.
This is the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it is.
He's being indicted because he's committed certain crimes. It's not sad. That's American justice.
This process demonstrates that we should have one law that applies to all people, no matter who you are or where you come from.
Joe, your reaction.
So I guess the charge against Donald Trump, or 34 in this case, is about campaign finance violations. At last chance, isn't AOC under investigation for the same thing? So it's funny that she was invited on the late night shows to talk about something that she very well could be charged with. And if you get the wrong district attorney involved, right, or wrong attorney general, or the wrong party and power involved, suddenly you may start to see this happening to Democrats. And that's the whole point. We shouldn't be celebrating this in any way, shape, or form, because when you weaponize the Justice Department, it can be used both ways. And that's the thing, when these folks are so happy, so giddy about this, they don't understand that this opens up a Pandora's box that could lead to something that makes this country more like a banana republic, which is supposed to be a store where I get my clothes from, and not the world's leading superpower, Ashley.
You know, and it's strange to think, you talk about Pandora's box and this can of worms that could be, you know, hypothetically opened after this. I think whether it goes to fruition or, you know, it gets canned, but I just wonder if the roles were reversed, if they would just ignore the story.
Oh, no, it would be a chilling threat to democracy, and we would hear all of that hyperbole, or they might ignore the story, to your point. Either way, it would not get the play, obviously, that this is getting. And again, this should get a lot of play because we talked about how unprecedented this is, Todd. But at the same time, every other story, everything involving this administration, this president, in terms of inflation, crime, education, the border, foreign policy, will all get swept under the rug for the foreseeable future, because this trial isn't going to happen until January.
Insane.
Iowa, think about that. So it's like the January 6th Commission. That took up the summer of 2022 up until the midterms. It made the midterms partially a referendum on Donald Trump, who wasn't even on the ballot. This is what I think the goal is ultimately here, not to win the case, to keep it front and center in the headlines because it makes Donald Trump look bad, even though it strengthens him within the Republican Party.
You almost expect every even year going forward, the Democrats are going to trot something else out that distracts the nation to get Democrats in office.
Yeah.
But this was a little bit of a pushback, and I found this fascinating. Overnight, Twitter labeling NPR as U.S. state-affiliated media. What's your take on this, Joe?
Fascinating, right? So NPR receives something like $70 million in funding each year, even though they're completely solvent because they've been around since 1967. And its original intent when it was created by Congress more than 50 years ago was for, quote, instructional, educational, and cultural purposes, unquote. It is now to the left of AOC. Its journalism is nothing more than opinion that is presented under the guise of opinion. Now, let me give you one example. NPR last year would read the Declaration of Independence in full every July 4th. It did that for 33 years, and suddenly it suspended doing that because they felt it was more important to talk about the rights being taken away from women because of the Roe v. Wade decision. That's all you need to know about this. They don't need any more funding. They are state-run media, and it's a shame because its original intent was to educate people and actually give them news. Instead, it gives them Democratic talking points.
Well, the original intent of the DA's office in New York City was to, prosecute crime, and
Yes.
that obviously is completely different as well.
This is true.
Joe Concha, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Joe.
Outstanding. Great to see you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.